Fusion energy just took a major step toward the power grid. Fusion energy has long been described as the holy grail of clean power. The promise is enormous. Virtually limitless fuel, zero carbon emissions during operation, and no long-lived radioactive waste like traditional nuclear fission. But despite decades of research, fusion has always seemed to be just over the horizon. Now, a company called Zap Energy may have taken an important step toward changing that. The company recently announced that the US Department of Energy has approved its preconceptual fusion power plant design under the department's Milestone-Based Fusion Development Program. That might not sound exciting at first, but it represents something significant. For years, most fusion companies have been focused on proving the science. Can they create fusion reactions? Can they generate the temperatures needed? Can they keep the plasma stable? Zap Energy is now talking about something different, an actual power plant. According to the company, its design is intended to generate approximately 50 megawatts of net electrical power per module. To put that into perspective, that's enough electricity to power tens of thousands of homes, depending on energy consumption and local grid requirements. The important word here is net. In fusion research, generating heat isn't enough. The real challenge is producing more usable electricity than the system consumes. That is the hurdle every fusion company must eventually overcome. What makes Zap Energy especially interesting is the technology it's using. Most people have heard of giant fusion projects like ITER, which rely on enormous superconducting magnets to confine plasma inside massive donut-shaped reactors known as tokamaks. Zap Energy is taking a completely different approach. Its system is based on something called a sheared flow stabilized Z-pinch. Now don't worry about the complicated name. In simple terms, instead of using huge external magnetic systems, Zap sends an electrical current directly through the plasma itself. That current naturally creates a magnetic field which compresses the plasma to fusion conditions. The potential advantage is that the reactor can be dramatically smaller, simpler, and potentially much cheaper than traditional fusion designs. If successful, that could make fusion energy easier to scale and deploy around the world. Of course, there are still major challenges ahead. Approving a power plant design is not the same thing as producing commercial electricity. Fusion companies still need to demonstrate reliable operation, consistent performance, engineering durability, and ultimately economic viability. In other words, the physics may be progressing, but turning fusion into a commercially competitive energy source remains one of the toughest engineering challenges on Earth. Still, milestones like this matter. Every major energy technology follows a similar path. First comes scientific discovery, then proof of concept, then engineering design, then commercial deployment. What we're seeing from Zap Energy is a company moving from the science phase toward the engineering phase, and that's exactly what many observers have been waiting for. The world's demand for electricity continues to grow, driven by artificial intelligence, data centers, electric vehicles, advanced manufacturing, and expanding digital infrastructure. If fusion energy can eventually deliver on its promises, it could become one of the most important technologies of the century. That's why announcements like this are attracting attention from governments, investors, and energy experts alike. We're still not at the point where fusion is powering cities, but each milestone brings that future a little closer. The big question now is no longer whether fusion reactions can be created. The question is whether companies like Zap Energy can transform those reactions into reliable, affordable electricity for the grid. And if they can, the future of energy could look very different indeed. What do you think? Is fusion finally moving from scientific experiment to commercial reality, or do you think widespread fusion power is still decades away? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the technologies shaping our future.